Right, the topics that we're going to discuss tonight. First of all, Bank Negara Malaysia has held the overnight policy rate steady at 3.0%. Meanwhile, the ringgit has strengthened to 4.726. It has came down quite a long way from its previous all-time low of 4.79 last Wednesday. And not only Bank Negara Malaysia, but the US Federal Reserve has also decided to keep interest rates steady. So today we'll really talk about the impacts of both central banks holding their interest rates steady on the Malaysian ringgit and the markets. So this and more in our weekly analysis. As usual, not financial or legal advice. Before I dive right into the main topics of tonight, here are the best fixed deposit rates for November. Now I update them at the start of every month, and you can refer to the full article in our website. It's thefuturist.beehive.com. But anyway, Alliance Bank, currently the highest, return rate 4.2% per annum. Tenor of 12 months, minimum deposit amount is 1,000 ringgit. But there are a few caveats over here. Okay, so this promotion only applies to new accounts, and it's a one-off promo only. So let's say if you had an Alliance Bank account before September, okay, before this promo period started, then you will not be eligible for this 4.2% FD. And if today you decided to open an Alliance Bank account, and then you'll be eligible for the promo, yes, but then you deposit 2,000 ringgit inside, and then say next week you got another 3,000 ringgit, yeah, you won't be eligible for the promo again because it's only one-off. Okay? So the next one is M Bank, 4.1% per annum, 18 months, 10,000 ringgit. RFB Bank comes in at the third place, 3.85% per annum, 6 months, 5,000 ringgit. And the rest you guys can refer over here. But let's say you want a shorter tenor. You don't want to store your money for too long. Well, the best short-term fixed deposit, CIMB, is the clear winner for now. They are offering 3.65% per annum for 2 months. Yeah, fresh funds from FBX, meaning that it has to come from a different bank. Some misconceptions over here. It's not 3.65% in 2 months. That return is very, very high. Rather, it's 3.65% multiplied by 2, you divide it by 12. Okay, so within these 2 months itself, you will get roughly 0.61% returns on your capital, which is pretty high if you ask me. Okay. And right now, a majority of the people have been asking me recently and saying that, hey, Rise, this cash app paying 5%, Versa paying 4.3%. What is the purpose of fixed deposits? Because their returns right now is so low. Now, to that, I would say it entirely depends on what you want. Okay, the locking period of FDs, some people find it quite useful when it comes to working towards a target goal. Okay, so Rise, this 5% per annum is definitely attractive, right? And Rise allows you to deposit and withdraw your funds instantly. But bear in mind, this promotion expires on 31st of December. Okay, meanwhile, Versa, 4.3% per annum, it will also eventually expire. They did not specify when. Okay, and at the end of the day, flexibility has a big con as well. Some people may end up spending more. Okay, let's say you save in Rise, and then let's say you save already like 7 or 8,000 ringgit, and you'll be like, oh, I might as well just spend 1,000 ringgit. But if you store it in fixed deposits, then it'll be more easier to work towards your target goal. Let's say you are saving for a wedding in 1 year, or perhaps a down payment for a car. Putting it in fixed deposits makes much more sense. Let's dive right into the main topic of the night. Bank Negara Malaysia, they've held the overnight policy rate at 3%. No surprises over here. Majority of the economists as well as analysts, they are expecting BNM to follow through with this move. And in their statement, the central bank stated that the current OPR level is in line with the health of the economy and also supportive of growth. Financing remains available amid sustained credit growth. Now, this move comes as people have been asking Bank Negara Malaysia to raise the OPR in order to defend the ringgit. But then again, Bank Negara's mandate is not this. The entire purpose of OPR is to basically keep a lid on inflation. And since Malaysia's inflation has moderated to 1.8 to 1.9%, the most recent figure, there's really no urgent motive for Bank Negara Malaysia to hike interest rates and unnecessarily burden citizens just to strengthen the ringgit. Okay. So what's happening to the economy? Well, BNM believes that the Malaysian economy continued to expand, supported by employment and wage growth. Tourist arrivals has also been quite good. Large-scale projects have been progressing quite well. The recent ringgit movements, I've also talked about this. They were mainly driven by global developments. So take a look at the Ringgit's weakness is largely due to dollar strength over here. And the dollar was supported by geopolitical tensions in the Middle East, apart from the difference of interest rates between Malaysia and the US as well. But Bank Negara Malaysia, they acknowledge that this will not derail Malaysia's growth prospects. And as expected, inflation continued to trend downwards. So again, no motive for BNM to hike rates. So what about the future of the economy? Well, Bank Negara Malaysia believes that Malaysia will continue to expand. Inflation will be modest. Okay, this one we've talked about it previously. In Budget 2024, since they removed quite a few subsidies, such as the price ceilings of eggs and chicken, as well as diesel, and electricity subsidies for the top 10%, right? So all this will eventually lead to inflation ticking up higher next year. Anwar averaged it to be about 3.2 to 3.8%, but are subject to risks, from global and domestic developments. So we take a look at global central banks. If they continue to keep interest rates higher for longer, that will definitely stifle global growth and at the end of the day, translate to a slower growth in Malaysia as well. But nevertheless, Bank Negara Malaysia, they ensured that the current OPR level will continue to support growth, will keep inflation in check, and they also pledge that they may resort to direct intervention if there is heightened volatility in the Malaysian ringgit. Now, within the statement itself, if you guys can go and look it up, never did Bank Negara Malaysia say that they will strengthen or stabilize the ringgit, okay? Because their power only extends to reducing the day-to-day volatility of the Malaysian ringgit. So now speaking of the Malaysian ringgit, right? Let's take a look at this chart over here. It's not very encouraging, but I'll take it is at least something, okay? Ringgit has reversed course already, strengthened against the US dollar in the past 7 to 9 days in itself, from the peak of the 25-year low of 4.792 last Wednesday. So ringgit strengthened about 1% over here, and part of it is due to Bank Negara Malaysia keeping the overnight policy rate steady instead of reducing the OPR. So if BNM reduces the OPR, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but if they do, then that will easily translate to more weakness for the Malaysian ringgit. But a large part of the ringgit's strength that we are seeing right now is due to dollar weakness. Take a look at this chart over here. When I put the dollar index on top of the USD MYR pair, you can see that they pretty much move one to one. Okay, except more recently, the ringgit continued to weaken further, but there's still quite a bit of correlation over here. And the dollar itself, the strength of the dollar versus all the other major currencies out there, well, it dumped quite a bit on Thursday and Friday, about 1 to 2%, translated to a similar weakness in the USD MYR pair. And why did the dollar dump, you ask? Well, it's due to the Federal Reserve keeping interest rates unchanged, and Jerome Powell, during the meeting itself, he was kind of on the fence, hinting at a possible end of the tightening campaign. And this is what investors are looking for. They're looking at the level at which the Federal Reserve will continue to pause and look to reduce interest rates. Okay? So some information, it's the second meeting in a row that the Federal Reserve has decided to skip interest rate hikes. And during the meeting itself, Jerome Powell said no rate cuts are being discussed. Restrictive policy is yet to be felt. Doesn't mean that the Federal Reserve skipped 2 interest rate hikes in a row. It doesn't mean that in December they will skip also. Okay, so the Federal Reserve sees a long way to bring inflation back down to 2%. Jerome Powell said that inflation is still much too high. It's going to take some progress for us. Keep interest rates higher for longer. Then only we see inflation down to a sustainable path to our target goal of 2%. Uncertainties in the Middle East, this one is also acknowledged by Jerome Powell. He said that it could cloud global growth and therefore may affect the Federal Reserve's future decisions, and they will adopt a wait-and-see approach. So overall, you can really see Jerome Powell's tone over here is that he's trying to stay on the fence a bit, doesn't want to give too much hints, and saying that depending on what the economy is right now, we will make decisions as we go. But the market took the message very differently. Okay, you can take a look at the target rate probabilities for the last meeting of the Federal Reserve on 13th of December. 80.4% of investors believe that the Federal Reserve is done hiking interest rates. They're basically done already. They're not likely to hike interest rates. They're going to keep it level at 5.25 to 5.5% at next meeting, and even the next year, right? Some analysts and some economists, they're predicting that the Federal Reserve is probably looking to cut interest rates somewhere next year. But they're pretty much done at this level already. And with that, the stock market, in particular the S&P 500 index, as well as the Malaysian market, immediately rallied. Okay, you can see over here, right after the Fed meeting on Wednesday itself, and Jerome Powell laid out his statements, yada, yada, yada. Okay, the S&P rallied by 4 to 5%. And since the Malaysian market, I would say, generally follows the global trend and the US sets the global trend, right? The Malaysian market has made quite an impressive comeback as well, strengthened overall by 0.7 to 1%. And consequently, on the flip side, it translated to dollar weakness, okay, as I covered earlier, and in turn, quote-unquote, ringgit strength. Okay, so just want to make you guys clear on why the ringgit has suddenly decided to reverse course. So what's up? What's next? Well, the Federal Reserve is not the only central bank to hold the interest rate steady. Bank of England has also decided to keep interest rates steady, though it's at a 15-year high, and they've ruled out quick cuts to help the economy. But economists, analysts, they believe that if the global central banks, major central banks, they continue to do so, in that they pretty much are done hiking interest rates already, that's going to be good for the Malaysian ringgit in the long term. Because the difference of interest rates, or the interest rate differential, the term that we kind of use, it will not widen between Malaysia and the US, or perhaps Malaysia and UK anymore, and therefore it will translate into more strength for the Malaysian ringgit. So I would say we can hope for the best, prepare for the worst. My target is hopefully we can see the ringgit back at 4.6, 4.7 by the end of the year. And next year, if central banks are looking to keep their interest rate at a level, or perhaps start to reduce interest rates, then that is definitely going to translate into more good news for our local note. All right. So that brings me to the end of my short and sweet presentation. Hopefully you guys learned something. I just want to really thank our supporters, our Patreon members, Andrew, Wendy, Edward, Alex, CC Is, Morpheus, Urshad, Caveman, Balls, Galvin, Kai, Tommy, Jin Kang, Adrian, JS Wenyan, Dean Duhan, Ken, Faris, Alan Jackson, Raizan, Jeremy, G, Jeffrey, and Lawrence, as well as all of our learner members for your continuous support to the Futurists. Thank you guys so much for joining tonight's session, and I will see you guys in the next one. Every Sunday we do sessions like this, so see you guys next Sunday, 10 p.m. Stay safe, guys. Bye. Good night.